Curtis Trades here. I'm going to be comparing the new Jeep Grand Cherokee, the WL model designation, with the previous generation, the Jeep WK2, and we're going to see how they compare, what is different, what has changed, and what I like about them, because this vehicle is my personal vehicle, and I just traded in my 2014 Grand Cherokee for this vehicle as well. So I got a good idea of what is different and see it more from an owner's perspective rather than somebody who looks at cars on surface level based on stats and features that they have. So I'm going to give you a little bit more in-depth comparison of the two vehicles. And so this is the long wheelbase version. This is a 2021 model. In the 2021 model, they had the long version like this, the WL, and they also had the regular Jeep Grand Cherokee, the WK2 model, in the short wheelbase version, released at the same time. So they kind of had the new vehicle and the old vehicle both selling in the same model year for 2021. In 2022, they had the Jeep Grand Cherokee L, and then they updated the old Jeep Grand Cherokee to this body style with the normal wheelbase, the 2-row version. The L is the long wheelbase 3-row version. The biggest thing I can say that they updated for the new one is that it is way more refined on the inside. It is a much more technologically advanced vehicle. It feels much nicer in the cabin, and the vehicle, other than that, is pretty similar in terms of what you're going to get for a Jeep. You're going to get a lot of really good features for a really good price, and especially with the lower trim models, which this is an Altitude, which is basically a trim package that's placed on the Laredo. If you go up to the higher models, the Overland, the Summit, it gets very, very expensive, and that is kind of exactly how it has been with Jeep. With the previous model year, the WK2 as well, it's much better value in the lower trims, and the higher trim levels where you get all the added features, it gets really, really expensive really quickly. So if you're looking to save money, go with a Laredo or Altitude, one of the lower trims. You get a whole bunch of standard features, and they're all packed into a really awesome platform. Okay, so this is where the new WL it really blows the old WK2 out of the water in terms of refinement, and it's much, much better. The interior, the dash, the integration of the system, and just the center console, the driving area. It's way better than the previous generation. I think the WK2 really was a super innovative and much better vehicle than that previous generation, and this one feels as big of a jump from the WK1 to the WK2 as the WK2 does to this generation. It feels like a very similar jump, a huge leap forward in tech and interior build quality. It's just really, really nice space to be in. Jeep originally seemed much more like a tough and rough off-roady type of vehicle, and they have really refined these interiors in the past two generations specifically to be a really awesome area to be in the car. And the best thing I like about it is they integrate the touchscreen super well. A lot of car brands will have the touchscreen like way up high, and it looks just like a tablet that somebody plopped right in the middle. And this isn't what you get here with the Grand Cherokee. It's really well integrated. It doesn't look out of place at all, and it's actually not super massive. And then the other super awesome part is that they have all physical buttons for the radio, the volume, the heated seats, the HVAC, the heat, the air, the fan, the defrosters. All those settings are right here, so you don't have to use the touchscreen if you don't want to. The use of materials and the leather mixed with the shiny materials is really, really awesome. They have a little leather here, the soft touch plastics on the top, and then the shininess here, and it just really works super well in the space so that you're not feeling overwhelmed, you're not feeling like they could have done more, you're not feeling like you're missing out on any specific area of the interior cabin. Some of the small features are included in some of the lower tech packages, which are included as standard on some of the higher trims, which is nice. You can add them on for not a really crazy amount. You can add on a bunch of really good features for like $1,000 or $2,000 without having to do a whole new trim level, which is again a really awesome part about this vehicle. The parts about this vehicle that are kind of archaic is they use the same motor, the Pentastar 3.6 liter and the 5.7 liter V8, and the same transmission. I will say though, just because they use an older transmission and motor doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad one. If you have a proven track record with these big components, it's probably better in terms of reliability than going with something brand new that hasn't been used in a vehicle before, or hasn't been used for a long period of time. It's unknown whether the long-term reliability will be there. So the 8-speed from ZF transmission, super awesome. It's been used in a lot of different vehicles. It's well known for being a very good automatic transmission. And then the 3.6 liter, again, it's known for being well built and being reliable, and it's not slow. I mean, this is a huge family SUV. It's not slow. If you put your foot down, it's going to get going, and it's got about 300 horsepower. I don't think it's lacking in the horsepower department, but I would have liked to really see the miles per gallon go up, because from this generation to the previous generation, it has the same mile per gallon rating. And that's because they went with the same motor, so you're not going to get anything different there. And it's 2021, 2023, 2024, and they're still using these old motors, and they're not using direct injection, which is a much more fuel efficient motor. So again, it's tried and true method that works, and it's going to work for a long time, but it's not the most technologically advanced when you're talking in terms of fuel economy. So it's give or take, and I think they chose a decent platform to go with. The biggest thing too on the interior is the space. This thing is huge. They added about 7 to 8 inches of wheelbase length on this vehicle, and you can really tell it feels way different than any of the other Jeep Grand Cherokees that I've driven. I've had the past 4 generations of Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is pretty much all of them, and they all want to get the back end loose, and adding that extra wheelbase, especially on this, the long wheelbase version, it doesn't want to get loose, and the back end doesn't want to kick out in the snow, and it's really awesome. It's a super stable car. That extra 10 inches of wheelbase length really makes a big difference in terms of stability, especially in the snow and sloppy weather. So that is honestly probably the largest change for the vehicle in terms of handling and stability, and it was a really awesome change. This thing, it feels like a minivan inside. It's huge. So compared to the WK2, the previous model year, it is so much more refined. It's got LED headlights. It's got tons of tech packed in. The center console is a really awesome space to be in. The length with the added wheelbase for the long version is super awesome, especially if you're hauling kids and stuff around. It's like a minivan inside. If you do have the regular wheelbase, the 2-row, in the new body style, it is longer than the previous generation by about 5-ish inches too. So that is something to take into consideration. But again, the long one feels way bigger inside. And the stability off-road and on snow and ice is amazing compared to the previous generation and all the generations, honestly. This one handles amazing. It doesn't want to spin out. The long wheelbase really makes it much more stable. And again, everything is updated. They've got a lot. The vehicle's actually lighter, even though it's bigger, because they use a lot of full aluminum suspension components. And just a really awesome upgrade. And I can't stress that enough on how good this car is.